All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Reader. So I've got kind of a mixed bag here. I want to look at some quant stocks, and I got to look at the weed stocks again one more time, right? So we'll take a look at Rigotti and QBTS, and then I want to look at Tilray and CGC right here. All right, so I actually was not looking here. It was the last thing, kind of the first thing for me. I had a busy day, but it's irrelevant. It was the last thing I saw on the Discord. Someone mentioned Rigotti. Someone mentioned testing all-time highs, and yeah, I see the exact same thing. I went through the rest of the sector real quick, and QBTS is the one that caught my eye as well. So this is on the golden line. Very interesting doji yesterday. Try to get over yesterday, right? I mean, I think these two right here are a very good 1-2 to look at. Like I said, I looked at the rest of the sector. It's not that they look bad, but I just thought that these ones were at least worth the immediate look tomorrow. So that's why we're going to cover these today, all right? Tilray. As we come into Tilray, look, if you watch my videos, that this thing has so many things that I love, all right? The candle is beautiful. Overall, the moving averages, confirmation, MACD green over the red, RSI green over red, and hey, we're actually not even at 80 yet, even though it's a 78, right? And then just look at that volume, right? Lovely, 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 lovely. What more can we ask for, right? Looking at CGC, personally, I actually thought that this was going to do just a little bit better. This thing actually had really good earnings, a nice pop up after and continue, but definitely not as good as Tilray. I'll give you my assumption for why that is, but yeah, in general, I think I thought, I bought both of them. I'm sitting here wondering, damn, should I've only put it all in Tilray, right? But yeah, I think I expected CGC to do just as well, not this far off, you know what I mean? So again, I'll give you my thoughts, but hey, end of the day, we're still doing all right here, and you can't get that mad at that, right? So these are the four I'd like to look at. The one thing we gotta show, this is a nice index moment right here, all right? Yesterday was a real big all-time high candle on the S&P 500. We get a nice little gap up doji, still only a 63 on the RSI. When we look at the NASDAQ, that was a big all-time high candle right there. That's a nice little gap up doji. I do wish that we didn't come down as much, right? We gap up here, but then we did come down a little bit regardless, right? Still a really healthy RSI, green over red on the MACD. And really what it was more about today was actually the Dow Jones. Dow Jones has been behind both of those, right? Dow Jones for the longest was under moving averages while this one was over all of them. This one was still under one while those other ones were over all of them. This one's actually not even technically in all-time highs yet, right? We still got to get over that thing right there, right? But that is a real nice candle. And honestly, I'm cool with the two dojis on the other index. This one looking like this today. Hopefully all three get a real nice candle tomorrow, and then we get some nice all-time high unison. That would be beautiful, all right? Last thing, I do got a flash, all right? So again, this is a free site. I'm not even logged in. Everything you see here, they're not even asking you for a password. I really do like this site. It gives us the next time Powell is going to stand on the microphone and do his thing. And right now, this thing says 100%. I think it's a typo because I see 93 right there. Nonetheless, look, we are living for the last week in the 94, 93, 93% expectation that we're going to ease. All right. It wasn't that long ago that it was basically 60-30, right? 60-40, whatever you want to call it, almost 2-1, right? All of a sudden it's just this wild, hey, we're going to get a rate cut, right? So all of a sudden we're expecting a rate cut in September, and all three indices are basically knocking on the door of all-time highs, with two of them actually in all-time highs. All you can think to yourself is good times ahead. You know what I mean? Like I said it not that long ago. It feels funky that like it's going well. At this point, this is the unison that we've been looking for. And man, again, these lower indicators are really healthy. Even on the weekly, they're not even screaming high 80s just yet, right? So at least that's S&P 500. Nasdaq's at 81. All right. And then where's Dow Jones at? TJ 30, still healthy, right? So I think the other cool thing is, especially because we're talking about two Dow Jones stocks, right? This could be real good for weed. Dow Jones is the healthiest of the RSIs on the daily and the weekly. It's the one with the freshest escape attempt, right? Like that could actually bode well for some of the non-tech stocks. And you know me, I love me some tech. So yeah, just keep an eye on that. All right. So before we do go any further, though, and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it, all right? So let's get into these two tickers. And really, I am really liking these two tickers. Rigotti and QBTS are going to be the ones I focus on. Real quick, I'll just flash the others. Look, QUBT still has a little bit too many moving averages, right? Obviously, we're over the golden line that I have here, but I think if we can get maybe over 18, I'd be a little more interested in this one. IONQ, kind of the same story. It looked like it was going to escape. All of a sudden, we're right back into the moving averages. I really can't tell what this one wanted to do. That's kind of why I left this one out right there, right? QS has been a real solid one. Maybe this one's worth keeping an eye on. Look, green, red might give us another green moment right here, right? So I can see this trying to make an attempt at 1025. That's basically where the yellow 20 moving average is going to go. Orange maybe is probably the better color, I should have said. And then if that breaks, that's actually where I would like it more. So maybe QS is worth staying in the group. But yeah, because of what I saw with those other ones, it was Rigotti and QBTS. Wow, too many letters. Those are the ones that are catching my eye. Look, really quickly, I see it coming down after hours. I absolutely don't care about that, all right? So we are looking at the first good candle over all the moving averages, right? That was a nice good one. Unfortunately, that was a little bit more doji. And look, if you look at it, it actually couldn't even get over the biggest candle to the left, right? So I'll get back to that when we talk about this one, right? But not quite good enough. Hey, we at least don't lose the moving averages, right? And it bounces, and now it looks like it's trying to bounce up, right? What I extra like about today, look at this candle right here, all right? We closed today at 1724. Obviously, it's that number right there, and I didn't need to do that, but that's well over this candle, which is the biggest one to the left. And hey, for some people, they might even use this one, which was the last, like, good candle this high. We're actually still over this one, actually, by a solid 10 cents, right? So today's candle is a little more doji than I like. Yeah, the body's for sure big, but wick up and wick down, I don't like that wick on both sides on that. I think it almost supersedes the size of the candle. But closing over the biggest candles to the left, I think it has some value to that, all right? What I do really like is down here, all right? That's a MACD that's in the positive. That's an RSI at a very healthy 58. Both of them have green over red, and really it's the volume, all right? First, it looks like a nice little growth of volume over the last few trading days. It's clearly a nice growth over the last 3, each of them being bigger, and each of them was a good green one. And obviously today was well over the 50-day line, something that we actually haven't been able to do in a while. I think I also like that the first one was down here instead of up here, right? Like that's arguably a little more pump and dumpy. That's not. And hey, give me a little follow through, and break a golden line is an easy reason to bring some follow through on volume, right? I think Rigotti has a good mix for keep an eye on this, and this thing might get ready to move, right? When we move into the weekly, it looks like this thing is ready to have some nice weeks if we're ready to move, because that's a very healthy RSI on the weekly. Green over red on that MACD in the positive. It looks like red might still be over it, but honestly, I think I'm kind of going to ignore this. I like the number. I like everything else so far, and that's what I'm looking for, all right? I'm seeing that there was earnings here. I actually didn't realize there was earnings. I'm trying to grab my phone real quick and see what I can find on Webull without wasting too much of your valuable time. Give me one sec. Oh man, I apologize. So what are we seeing here? Dun 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 dun. I see some price targets raised. You know I really don't care about that. Come on. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm wasting time. I can't really find any good headlines. It looks like I can't tell if they beat earnings per share consensus or not. Dang. All right. Sorry about that. Let me know if you have better educated thoughts on that earnings. To me, this candle at least says there's more volume coming and it's saying let's go, right? So I'm really liking Rigotti overall on everything I said. What are we looking for? Look, I mean, it's basically all right here, right? I'm looking for 18. Break me this golden line. Obviously, the next candle goes to 19 and true all-time highs is up here at 21. If you break the 1794 well enough, we're going to all-time highs, right? The golden line is down here for a reason. It doesn't need to be up there for me to think it, all right? So I am incredibly bullish at 1670. All right. Even if we go that low, I'm very bullish. Technically, we're actually probably bullish as low as 16, but I would hope to not go any lower than that 1670 we just mentioned. All right. QBTS is a lot of the same story. It's just not as good a candle. But what I do see is an interesting doji. Look, if you've been watching my videos for a while, if you're in the Discord room, I love interesting dojis. All right. They are very 50-50. I'm I don't care if this was Facebook or Meta, whatever you want to call it, right? I don't care if it was Google. I don't care if it's a random penny stock. I always give the doji the 50-50 respect that it does deserve, all right? That said, this is an interesting one because it comes after an attempt to escape moving averages, an attempt to break the golden line, and the doji actually closes well above the candle, right? So there's a lot more positive than negative to say about the doji, right? But nonetheless, I'm here just calling it interesting. It has my attention. I think the easiest money line would be 1925. I'll actually probably set that alert. I don't think I did that. There we go. An alert is not an immediate buy notification. It's a come check it out. But yeah, if we even, to some people, if you get like a couple pennies up, that's enough to say the doji made its mind and let's go, right? Where are we to this? Oh man, almost to the penny. This thing closes at 1862. We're 4 cents above it. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting right here. What I really wanted to highlight about QBTS, I'll give you my money lines up here in a second outside of that last one, right? Check this out. So what ends up happening is before we were, down here and then we did this crazy run that you can easily say continued, right? Our volume was all the way down here. What was it at? Let's actually click into it. 2.7 million was a normal day for QBTS. All of a sudden, this volume spike and this volume spike and this volume spike, it makes this white line live a lot higher than you can actually sustain, right? And what ended up happening was for an entire 2 months, right? Like from the beginning of June, literally this right here, all the way to the beginning of August and arguably through today, actually, right? We basically never get over this white line. We get over it once and then drop once and then drop once and then drop once and then drop one, right? We're talking about months of trading, right? The good thing that's starting to happen is all of these big days are no longer in the view. And all of a sudden, this white line is drastically dropping. And all of a sudden, that white line is actually basically where we've been living. And that is an easier white line to break. If we can get just a little, literally just a little bit more volume, we're going to be over the 50-day line. We're going to confirm the doji, I would imagine. And that's where things are going to happen, right? So this is basically knocking on the door of all-time highs, right? If we get over $20.31, it's literally game over. And then I would expect 20% after 20% after 20%. And again, on both of these, just please remember, NASDAQ is looking great. S&P 500 is looking great. And, excuse me, the expectations for one and probably that at least the second, let's come down here. Yeah, look at that. They're actually even talking about super monster jumps, right? Like there is a very, very high probability that we're going to get our two cuts over the next three calls. Indexes are happy. I mean, there's a lot to like in what we're looking at, right? So let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinion. Oh, wait, QBTS. No, no, no. I am very bullish as low as, let's just call it 18. This thing can go as low as 18. Realistically, 1750 if you really want to say that, right? But I think as long as we don't go under 18, it's very easy to be bullish, all right? Now, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Let's come into Tilray. And look, I said it in the opening thoughts very quickly. I'm going to say it one more time. There is nothing but good on this screen right here, all right? I can literally look anywhere and just throw a dart on the screen and it's going to land on something good. All right, we'll start up here quickly. That's a really important break of the 200 moving average, right? That is an attempt to break for sure. As I zoom out and zoom out and zoom out, we've basically been under that line since July 2021. Little moment couldn't confirm, excuse me, little moment could have confirmed, same with all of those. That is a really important escape attempt, okay? That definitely isn't a bad candle. It's definitely not a good candle, right? We gap up monster. We actually run to like a $1.20. Yeah, that's literally the high it was. And then we unfortunately fall a lot more than I think a lot of people expected, right? But again, we don't even come anywhere near that 200. We don't come anywhere near that candle on Monday. And then boom, there we go, right? Oh man, there's just so much to love. When we actually look at the candle itself, the high of the day was $1.25. The close of the day was $1.25. Literally until the very last second of trading, people were buying and buying and buying and buying and buying and buying. And you know what? The market said, hey, get out of here. We're closed. Come back tomorrow if you're interested. All right. From there, look. The average weed stock, if it's going to run 30% regular hours, it's going to drop about 10% after hours. We're holding. That's not too shabby right there, right? So much to love up here. I mean, it looks like the 8 is about to golden cross that 200 moving average as well, right? Like so much to love. From there, we're going to come down here, right? Look at the divergence. Again, divergence just means two lines going away from each other. Green is diverging hard here. It is ready to go up while this stays down. I'm seeing a nice divergence right here. And hey, we're not even ringing the 80 alarm bell just yet, right? So there's actually still technically a little bit of room in the RSI, a little bit of gas still at least, right? If not maybe more. So we'll talk about the maybe more. From there, look at this volume right here, right? I mean, I know that there's a drop that's an easy thing to see, but look at those 3 days. Let's just zoom out really quickly, right? I mean, let's come into the week also. Since trading, look, today's Wednesday. There is no such thing as negative volume, right? Even if the stock was to drop 1,000%, I'm joking, I don't think that's going to happen. Volume will not go down, right? And in only 3 days, in only 3 days, we have more volume than the biggest week in trading history. On February 2021, in a full week of trading, we got 701 million shares. In 3 days of trading, we got 700 and almost 30, right? So this is a monster juggernaut of volume right there with those three. I kind of said on my last video, I'm actually expecting this thing to come up to 151. I think we're going to retest the golden line, the death line from before. Look, it makes sense to me that it ended right here today. This is in a lot of ways a gap up, gap down. This is a gap fill border. All right, it's not a big gap, so I think it should be pretty easy to break. But yeah, generally when there's a little bit of a space either up, or even if there's a big space up or down, right, that border between down here and up here, the line between down here and up here, sometimes it's just a little harder to break than it kind of looks like it should be, right? But yeah, I think we're going to get over that. I think we're going to retest the death line. In a lot of ways, this seems like the better line. as I'm just kind of zooming out, right? Look how much happens on that 179. This is a really important line. I do believe I drew a good death line. I think that was probably based on that candle, which was the lowest real candle at the time. So I don't like it when my lines are too close to each other, but this is going to be a tough channel right here. But obviously a lot to love over that channel right there, right? So I'm telling you, there is so much to like here, all right? The one thing I actually have a question for the team. I don't really know my answer to this, okay? Um, generally, the saying, excuse me, generally the saying is buy the rumor, sell the news. Right now, the rumor is he's going to do some sort of reschedulization, decriminalization, I don't know what word you want to call it. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think it's going to be sell the news? Or do you think we're going to get other rumors that come from that? Look, we're not talking about the Safe Banking Act, right? Like that has nothing to do with any of this initial rumor. I do think if we reclassify, the next thing people are going to be talking about is banking, right? We are not talking about cross-state commerce, right? We can't sell the California good in other states right now, right? I imagine that'll start getting a rumor coming, after certain points, right? So I truly don't know the answer to that question. I'm a little curious what people think. Like, are we going to sell the news if and when the Trump decision happens? Or is it actually going to feed new rumors and go from that? You know what I mean? So that's what we'll leave it on. I do want to talk about CGC real quick. Look, I did buy both Tilray and CGC. I kind of said in the beginning, I don't know if I regret not just going heavy on Tilray, right? What I truly thought when I clicked buy on this was, you know what? It just had good earnings and it has this rumor mill going. To me, I think the biggest difference was the moving averages. And I probably should. And you know what? It honestly was. I liked this channel. I thought to myself, you're going to break the 100, you're going to go to the 200. There's a lot of space right there. You know what I mean? So I think all that is why I decided to include this one in my buy instead of just go big on Tilray. I think the difference, like I said, excuse me, Tilray, escape attempt, tried again, confirmed. CGC is still under, that 200. It hasn't. As good as channel it as it is, right? And hey, it still might fill it, right? I'm not here. I haven't sold this. I'm not giving up on this. You know what I mean? Like they're still real good. Red, 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 green, 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 red, 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 and like all that sort of stuff, right? But yeah, obviously, I would have loved to just put it all in there and see more gains come in, right? So yeah, that's just at least my 2 cents there of why I also bought this. I do think and I always say it, you break all five and you fly. The day of the news, this tried to break all five. This is the fly that comes behind it, right? So I still think overall there's a lot of sector strength. Look, Sandal, SNDL, I haven't called it Sandal in a while. I know it doesn't look big, but that's a really nice candle after a hard doji right there, right? ACB, look at that candle right there. MSOS, look at that candle over there, getting us over that death line that we expected, and actually another double-digit day, which has to mean that MSOX brought you 25% today, right? Where's HITI at? Show it to me, right? We talked about this. I am now expecting us to retest that 25. I know it doesn't look like a big percentage, but yeah, there's a lot to like right there, right? So in a lot of ways, I covered more of the sector on this and on the other one that I was planning on it, but yeah, there's a lot to like, I think, on this video across both sectors. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Oh, I appreciate you so much.